and I face the public, of course, every 5 years, but I face the Prime Minister regularly, and he has demonstrated a certain capacity to hold persons accountable. So I start with myself, with holding myself accountable for policy, and then I, in turn, if I'm satisfied that the policy is correct, must now hold the chairman of school boards accountable if they're not meeting the targets. And the review, of course, essentially involves looking at whether or not they were using the resources at their disposal in the most efficient way, whether or not they were following the policies and guidelines set by the ministry, and whether or not they were placing the real energy behind the policy. Board chairmen would in turn have to hold their principals accountable. Again, were the principals following the policy? Did they use the resources, the guidelines, programs set by the ministry in the most efficient and effective way? Those are questions that the boards must ask their principals and review them. The principals must in turn review their teachers as well. And then I have to start an action. If I discover a failure in the board chairman, then I must act in changing that board chairman. And if we discover a failure in reviewing the principal, then that principal must be placed on notice. We have developed a 3-year cycle for accountability for principals. The first year is a warning for missing the target. The second year will be a comprehensive review and support. The third year, the board will have to now put in place the accountability mechanism. We must now ask the very serious questions about the efficiency and effectiveness of the leader of the school in meeting the targets. I'm sure it will cause consternation, might even cause disruption in the system. But let us never forget that it is the children who ultimately suffer for the failure of the education system to deliver a quality education. So when we start to quarrel and complain, and never forget that it is the children who suffer. And every child who passes out of the school illiterate, we have wasted potentially a valuable resource to Jamaica. So we have no options but to do this. And it is not intended to, the intention is not to separate a school leader or a teacher from their job. The intention is to make them better leaders and better teachers, because I know that all the teachers and principals that we have can become the best teacher or the best principal. And that's the intention of the policy of accountability, to ensure that all our school leaders and all our school teachers perform to the best of their ability and to the standards set by the Ministry of Education and the standards expected by parents and the public in general for education. So I'm very happy that PRIAL has decided to take on the challenge of doing a comprehensive review of the education system, providing us with a scorecard for education, providing the public with information about the quality of education in Jamaica that will inform them and inform discussions, provide them with a voice. That voice will applaud, that voice will encourage, it will congratulate, it will also raise alarm and call to action. And in so doing, we will mobilize the nation to make our education system the best in the world. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Minister. We now move into the substantive reason for our presence here, which is the presentation of CaPRI's effort over the last year, carried out by a team that included John Rapley, Nicole Brown, Jeff Poirier, Tamara Ortega Goodspeed, and many others, to make a proposal that we hope is going to be one of the elements in improving Jamaica's educational outcomes. One of the researchers, Nicole Brown, a research associate at CaPRI, is going to make the presentation of the report. Nicole?
Good morning, everyone. Today I'll be presenting options for using report cards to measure performance and improve accountability. The sections I will cover are the state of Jamaica's education system, the purpose and framework for the report card, the findings of the stakeholder interviews, in other words, what they would like to see, options for types of report cards, and finally, CaPRI's recommendation. Presently, Jamaica has excellent enrollment and spends a considerable amount on education. However, it's clear that inputs into education do not result in quality educational outcomes. Here's evidence of our high expenditure. 8.8% of government expenditure in 2007 went towards education. CaPRI notes that the Jamaican government has committed itself to allocating 15% of its budget towards education over the next 5 years. Jamaica spends $1,329 per student at the primary level and $1,527 per student at the secondary level. We have nearly achieved full access at the primary level. Jamaica has 85% enrollment for males and 93% enrollment for females. However, secondary enrollment is not as high as primary enrollment. Secondary enrollment in Jamaica, though, compared to other developing countries, is still very high. We only have 75% in secondary enrollment for males and only 78% for females. Here is evidence for low quality educational outcomes. Jamaica is still lagging behind its trading partners, Barbados and Trinidad, in the Caribbean Secondary Examination Council passes. In 2002, Jamaica had a 45% pass rate in English and a 36% pass rate in mathematics.